Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tangmen based on novel. So let's start. As a dark golden light flashed, Xiao Hongchen changed into a single heavy cannon. The body of the cannon was extremely thick, and the barrel was more than a meter in diameter. Intense golden light shot out towards Wang Qiu'er, who wasn't very far away. The poisonous crystals were crushed and scattered in the air, but the golden light was about to reach her. Wang Qiu'er didn't dodge. Patches of ice flowers condensed in front of her body, which quickly formed a layer of diamond ice crystals. Golden sparks quickly rose from her body. Roaring mightily, the golden dragon around her body instantly grew in size and blocked Xiao Hongchen's attack. As she focused her gaze on him, Wang Qiu'er thrust her spear out again. Golden light flashed, and the cannon was crushed. However, the golden light was like a fluid, flowing away to regroup and form another heavy cannon. That cannon was fired at Wang Qiu'er once again. At this point, 9 streaks of silver light descended and engulfed Wang Qiu'er at the same time. The 9 glories had unleashed their strength once again. The netherworld White Tiger had already ended. Both Dai Huobin and Zhu Lu were attacking frantically as they panted in exhaustion. However, their attacks were resisted by Qiu Yi's shield. Lan Xiu had exploited this opportunity to help Xiao Hongchen and Meng Hongchen. 9 streaks of silver light crashed down. Wang Qiu'er lifted her head to look at the sky. It was only at this point that the look in her eyes became clear again. A sonorous dragon roar sounded. She trembled, and a frightening force was released from her body. The dragon surrounding her quickly expanded and destroyed the rays that were targeting her. After that, she bent her upper body back and unleashed her spear, hurling it upwards before she straightened her waist and charged towards Xiao Hongchen. Her golden dragon spear flew out 5 meters and changed into 9 streaks of golden light. Boom. 9 booms sounded at the same time. The 9 glories instantly turned into broken scrap. Their rays weren't able to stop the attack from the golden dragon spear. Lan Xiu collapsed to the ground after his soul tools were destroyed. He had used all his spiritual power on these 9 soul tools, so his spiritual power was critically damaged at this point. Xiao Hongchen's cannon paused for a moment as Cao Jinxian started to bleed from his eyes and nose. His time-elapsing clock had made an opening for Wang Qiu'er again. Boom. Wang Qiu'er collided hard with the huge cannon. Xiao Hongchen wasn't flung back from this collision. When the dark golden lights dissolved, he was in his normal form and flipped upwards. It seemed like he was trying to trap Wang Qiu'er. Not far away, the pale Meng Hongchen leapt towards him. She was a streak of white light that collided with her brother. It was their martial soul fusion skill, Hongchen's yearning. Wang Qiu'er was restrained by the golden lights that had risen again. However, she released a chill from her body and prevented the golden lights from taking proper form again. When Meng Hongchen arrived, both siblings let out an intense golden glow. Their terrifying auras changed into a colorful rising whirlpool. The Hongchen siblings and Wang Qiu'er were all in the center of the whirlpool. Everyone was stunned by this scene. This was a life-and-death battle. There was no other way of resolving this fight. If Xiao Hongchen and Meng Hongchen were able to defeat Wang Qiu'er, they wouldn't have a problem defeating the rest of Shrek's team. If the opposite happened, the Sun Moon team wouldn't be able to resist Shrek's team any further, either. Everyone subconsciously stopped. All of their gazes were fixed on the whirlpool, which was a mix of gold, red, blue, white, and many other colors. Within the terrifying whirlpool, there was a violent undulation of soul power. Even Xingzhong felt a little afraid as he looked at the whirlpool. Why did you help me? Stuck in the whirlpool, Wang Qiu'er called out in her mind. A gentle voice replied, I wasn't just helping you, I was helping Shrek, too. Shrek's glory doesn't just belong to all of you. Yuhao. What? Nothing. The whirlpool continued to grow in size. From an initial diameter of 3 meters, it quickly expanded to 10 meters, and was even expanding at an increasing rate. When it reached close to 30 meters in diameter, everyone had to retreat frantically so that they wouldn't be affected by it. What was going on? Who were the victors and losers? Even though many people reckoned that the Hongchen siblings wouldn't lose given their combined 7-ringed and 6-ringed abilities, Wang Qiu'er still showed how dominant she was. However, no one knew that Wang Qiu'er was using her martial soul fusion skill right now. It was a fusion skill between her and a certain someone. It was the dragon roar of destiny. In the center of the whirlpool, a golden vertical eye slowly appeared. It was filled with depth and majesty, and could even see past the mysteries of destiny. Countless streaks of golden light were released from that golden vertical eye. The entire whirlpool stopped, and then started to decrease in size at an alarming rate. In mid-air, a slender figure formed from the golden vertical eye. The golden lights returned to Wang Qiu's hand as her spear. Right now, her veil was already crushed. Her ravishing looks were visible in front of everyone at this moment. This is... It was such a familiar appearance. Commotion immediately ensued. Why? Why is she on stage? Isn't she the lady formed from Huo Yuhao and Wang Dong's martial soul fusion skill? Her ravishing looks were too memorable. Right now, everyone was shocked. On the main stage, Jing Hongchen had already lost his cool and shouted, "Stop the fight." However, it was a pity that his voice couldn't pass through the barriers. Wang Qiu changed into a streak of golden-white flowing light before she dashed down. She turned into a huge golden dragon covered in icy armor as she moved. This was Wang Qiu's fifth soul skill in her Dragon Roar of Destiny state, Golden Dragon's Roar. Bang! Boom! The entire stage was boiling as if it had been struck by a Class 9 stationary soul cannon shell. A frightening explosive force was being unleashed, with the whirlpool at the center of the explosion. The rest of the members from both teams were instantly flung into the air by the horrifying impact of the explosion, smashing into the barriers at the sides. The center of the stage even caved in a few meters. Jing Zhon protected his body using his divine unbreakable shield. He stared at the core of the explosion. Even he couldn't intervene in such a confrontation. Any movement of his could potentially affect the result of the fight. Young people nowadays are too strong. The explosion that had just occurred was probably at a Soul Doluor's level of power. However, there were only 2 Soul Emperors and a Soul Sage. Debris fell from the sky. The shockwaves from the explosion lasted for more than 10 seconds before they faded away. The Soul Engineers who maintained the defensive formation around the stage experienced more than a 1/3 dip in their combined soul power, but they managed to keep the barriers from being damaged. After all, the explosion was proportionally distributed around the entire stage. If the explosion had been targeted at one point, these barriers might not have been able to resist it. The entire stage seemed to have been hammered by a titan. There was a huge depression 40 meters in diameter, and 5 meters in depth at the center of the stage now. Everyone's attention was first captured by a golden figure. Wang Qiu was standing proudly at the center of the stage in the depression. Right now, her armor had already disappeared, and she had returned to her original size. However, she still looked as beautiful as the goddess of light. A stream of blood flowed down the edge of her lips. However, this didn't affect how ravishing she appeared. Right now, she had left a deep and memorable impression in many people's minds, as she stood there like a Valkyrie. Xiao Hongchen and Meng Hongchen were separated to either side of her. Meng Hongchen was down on one knee and spitting out blood. She seemed completely out of energy now. Xiao Hongchen's condition was even worse than hers. He was back in human form. He looked as if he had been knocked down, as there were many wounds on his body, and his limbs were twisted around. It was difficult to tell if he was alive or dead. Wang Qiu slowly turned around and looked at Lan Xiu and Qiu Yi before coldly asking, "Are we still going to continue this team round?" Jing Zhon had no choice but to intervene. He could tell that the Hongchen siblings weren't in good shape. If he didn't announce the end of the fight, their lives might be in danger. The team round goes to Shrek. Wait a minute. A furious voice sounded. The barriers around the stage were removed, and Jing Hongchen burst onto the stage. He arrived beside Xiao Hongchen in the blink of an eye and quickly gave him a pill. After that, he stood up and shouted, "There's something wrong with this fight. We need to investigate thoroughly. Do not announce the outcome yet." After he finished speaking, a commotion ensued. While they had lost the team round, everyone had to admit that it was an exciting fight, and extremely intense. But Jing Hongchen's sudden appearance stalled the announcement of the result of this fight, and left everyone with an ominous feeling. "Is the Sun Moon Empire trying to be a sore loser?" a cold voice sounded. Following this, a streak of light descended from the sky and landed beside Wang Qiu. It wasn't an outsider. It was the eldest senior sister of Shrek Academy's inner courtyard, Zhong Lishuan. Jing Hongchen looked at the tragic state his grandson was in, and was completely heartbroken. It took only a simple inspection to ascertain that Xiao Hongchen's internal organs were critically hurt, and his limbs were completely fractured. It was unknown whether he could even survive, much less recover. I said there's something wrong with this fight. We need an investigation. Jing Hongchen bellowed, his eyes completely red. Zhong Lishuan replied coldly, all right, point out the problem if you think there is one. Even though this is the Sun Moon Empire, and we're from Shrek, I believe the Sun Moon Empire's citizens can see for themselves. What right do you have to doubt our students? Tell me. If you can point out any evidence to prove that we used unfair methods, we'll concede defeat. Just as they were bickering on the stage, Huo Yuhao's body shuddered slightly. However, he soon regained normalcy. It was just that his expression was a little pale. He coughed gently and used his hand to cover his mouth. He rubbed away a tinge of blood at the edge of his lips. You're back. Wang Donga whispered into his ear. Huo Yuhao looked over at her and smiled. I knew I wouldn't be able to hide it from you. You must tell me what happened when we return. What was with Chiao-sama? Wang Donga asked softly. This? I still have a tournament tonight, Huo Yuhao reminded her. Wang Donga snorted and didn't continue speaking. However, she grabbed his right hand and transferred some of her soul power to him. Zhong Lishuan wasn't going to give in. Jing Hongchen wanted to end the fight and treat his grandson's injuries, but that had to wait now. All right. Let's clear things up. Wang Chua, tell me, what's your background? Why do you look so much like the martial soul fusion skill exhibited by Huo Yuhao and Wang Dong? We need an explanation. Wang Chua laughed scornfully. Is there a problem just because I look like her? Jing Hongchen coldly replied, you look identical to a martial soul fusion skill. Another voice sounded at this point. Hall Master Hongchen, you don't have to find a reason. Chua is only identical to me because we are sisters. As this voice sounded, a figure jumped onto the stage and came up beside Wang Chua. Jing Hongchen was in a daze. He realized at this point that Wang Dong and Wang Chua looked very similar. Sisters. Jing Hongchen muttered. Following this, he was shocked when Wang Donga removed the hairband that held her hair together. Her powder blue hair flowed down, and she gently rubbed off the camouflage on her face and neck, revealing her true appearance. Suddenly, an identical pair of faces appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Such a ravishing look actually belonged to two people. Wang Dong and Wang Chua. They. Meng Hongchen shivered when she saw this. She wanted to say something, but she couldn't. Her eyes rolled upwards before she collapsed to the ground. Wang Donga said loudly, my name is Wang Donga, and this is my elder sister, Wang Chua. The raiment of light that Yuhao and I exhibit is mainly controlled by me. Is there a problem because it looks like me? Are our identical looks a reason to decide the outcome of the fight? Hallmaster Hongchen, your grandson and granddaughter lost the fight. You are representing the Sun Moon Empire, if you are trying to be a sore loser. The two of you, Jing Hongchen hadn't expected such a situation. Wang Dong was actually a woman. He still recalled that his own granddaughter seemed to. Hallmaster, quickly treat your grandson. He's critically injured. Jing Zhon was already beside Jing Hongchen at this point, and whispered in his ear. At this point, Jing Zhon also seemed very grim. As the referee, he had been humiliated because Jing Hongchen stopped him from announcing the result of the fight. However, Jing Hongchen's grandchildren were already in such a state. This fight was very important to the illustrious Virtue Hall, and he understood this clearly. Jing Hongchen shot a vicious glare at Wang Donga and Wang Chua before he snorted in anger. He raised his hand and wielded a beam of red light, dragging his grandchildren's bodies to him before flying off. Zhong Lishuan immediately turned his attention to Jing Zhon and said, Referee, I think it's time to announce the result. Jing Zhon nodded. After taking a deep look at them, he announced, the round is over. Shrek Academy wins the team round. We've won, Ning Qian muttered to herself. Dai Huabin hugged Zhulu and was filled with excitement and wild joy. The Lan sisters hugged each other and started weeping. Cao Jinxian looked around him and realized there was no one to celebrate with. At this point, Zhu Siken rushed up to the stage and picked him up. We've won. We've defeated Sun Moon. We've defended Shrek's glory. In the resting area, everyone from the Tang sect apart from Huo Yuhao stood up, clenching their fists tightly. At this point, they felt as if they had returned to 5 years ago when they defeated the Sun Moon team in the last tournament. Yes, Shrek had won. Shrek's glory had been defended once again. It is indeed unfair. Huo Yuhao thought to himself as he sat in his wheelchair. So what? So what if it's unfair, if I'm doing this for Shrek's glory? Is it fair that the Sun Moon team is using soul tools specially created for them by the illustrious Virtue Hall? In this world, there's no absolute fairness. Huo Yuhao covered his mouth with his hand and wiped away another patch of blood. He was even more hurt than Wang Qiu'er during the final clash. After all, he had helped her block many attacks. Rather than saying Shrek had won, it was more accurate to say that both parties had suffered greatly. If not for the fact that Meng Hongchen's soul power had been depleted earlier, and she was also injured, the last confrontation between both parties might have been even worse. Huo Yuhao had changed into a suit of armor and relied on Wang Qiu'er to control their fusion skill. Furthermore, he had used his imitation, so there was no way anyone could find out. On the stage, Wang Qiu'er gently collapsed onto Zhong Lishuan. However, she revealed a rare smile on her face. She turned her gaze to Huo Yuhao. She didn't say anything, but she revealed the slightest tinge of gentleness in her weakened state. Zhong Lishuan smiled at Wang Donga, saying, "Donga, thanks." Wang Donga shook her head and replied, "We are all from Shrek Academy. Eldest senior sister, you don't have to stand on ceremony. Furthermore, I think everyone will believe me if I claim to be Qiu'er's sister. Qiu'er, are you willing to be my elder sister?" Wang Qiu'er was stunned for a moment. A weird look flashed across her eyes. Elder sister. Wang Donga realized that she had misunderstood her, and rushed to correct her words. It's fine in that way, but not fine in that other way. Wang Qiu'er was in a momentary daze, and she revealed a bitter look on her face. I know. I'd like to rest for a while. Eldest senior sister, let's return. Okay. Zhong Lishuan sent Wang Donga a deep gaze before helping Wang Qiu'er off the stage. This exciting fight was finally over. Shrek had defeated the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. At this point, they had won 6 matches along with the Tang sect. They were going to qualify. Their last match with the Tang sect was going to determine their placing in the group. Wang Qiu'er was spent today. Although it wasn't obvious, it was clearly evident that she was gravely hurt from how weak she was. Fortunately, Shrek didn't lose any members. What kind of sparks would be created in their clash with the Tang sect? After the Sun Moon team's loss, the spectators were feeling down. However, they were most embarrassed by Jing Hongchen's intervention. Their hatred for Shrek had diminished a little. Of course, it also had to do with Wang Qiu'er and Wang Donga. They were both too beautiful. If they were from the Sun Moon Empire, they would have been goddesses in everyone's eyes. Up on the main stage, Prince Regent Xu Qianran's expression was changing unpredictably. However, this didn't continue for too long. After a while, he put a smile on his face and said, "Tell the imperial physician to make a trip to the illustrious Virtue Hall to treat the Hongchen siblings. He must heal them at all costs." "Your Highness, you are very generous," Juzi complimented him. Xu Qianran smiled at her and said, "Let's go, let's return. Imperial tutor, I'll need to rely on you for the remaining rounds of the tournament." "Okay." The imperial tutor grunted, but Xu Qianran didn't seem to be bothered. Juzi stood up and pushed his wheelchair as he left. "Your Highness, do we need to pacify the citizens?" "I'm afraid today's defeat," Juzi said softly as she pushed him along. Xu Qianran replied, "What's there to pacify, since their skills aren't up to par? Let it die down. The tournament hasn't ended yet, so I don't think their attention will dwell too much on this matter. Send someone to investigate Wang Qiu'er's background. I still think there's something wrong. She seems a little too strong. Xiao Hongchen and Meng Hongchen's martial soul fusion skill can even trouble an 8-ringed soul Doluor, but Wang Qiu'er is only a 6-ringed soul emperor. How was she able to win so easily? She was even depleted in the earlier fights. Something must be wrong. Humiliation. It's a humiliation. If not for the fact that Jing Hongchen is still useful, HMPH. A cold light flashed across Xu Qianran's eyes. He shut his eyes and didn't speak further. Juzi felt a chill run down her spine. He wasn't being generous. It was only because Jing Hongchen and his illustrious Virtue Hall was still useful, and thus Xu Qianran wasn't willing to offend him, so he tolerated the defeat. Shu Qianran was too scary. The Mingyu Hotel. Wang Dong retracted her left hand and asked curiously, "Tell me, what happened?" Huo Yuhao knew that he couldn't hide things any further, and revealed how he was able to form a martial soul fusion skill with Wang Qiao. He also recounted how he was able to unleash the dragon roar of destiny. After hearing his recounting of events, Wang Dong was in a daze. It was too much of a coincidence. Not only did Wang Qiao look identical to her, but she could also form a fusion skill with Huo Yuhao. Wang Dong snorted furiously and jumped off from the bed. "Dong, I was in the wrong," Huo Yuhao said submissively. An amused look flashed across Wang Dong's eyes, but she placed her hands on her hips before furiously saying, "Do you know why you were in the wrong?" Huo Yuhao was clever. "I know. I shouldn't have kept the truth from you. I was only afraid that you'd misunderstand, that's why I didn't tell you anything. However, my Dong is such a magnanimous person. Why would she be bothered about something as trivial as this? I'm the coward who made you angry. I'm in the wrong. I understand my mistake now. Dong, forgive me. Don't worry, my heart is only for you." Honestly speaking, I also felt very weird when I found out I could form a martial soul fusion skill with her. I was even more curious about her background. However, I'm still unable to see anything. I can only feel that she doesn't have any ill intentions. Wang Dong laughed coldly. "Of course she doesn't have any ill intentions. She only has love for you." He promptly broke out coughing at her words. Wang Dong thought for a moment before saying, "To prevent you from committing an offense, I'll forbid you from interacting with Wang Qiao alone. If there's anything you want to talk to her about, I must be by your side. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Majesty," Huo Yuhao quickly agreed with a sincere look on his face. Wang Dong returned to the bed and sat beside him. "Yuhao, you must know that I'm not jealous. It's just that your body isn't in good shape, but you are still working so hard. It's better to be involved in fewer matters. Am I right?" "Yes, you're right. You're right." He could only agree with her now. Wang Dong sighed and said, "Seeing that you've been performing well recently, I wanted to accompany you to sleep tonight. However, I'm hurt because you've been lying to me for so long. Your punishment will be that you'll continue to sleep alone on the bed. I'll sleep on the sofa." "All right, go and cultivate. You still need to compete in the round of 6 in the Soul Engineering tournament tonight. I'm afraid your opponent will be difficult to deal with. How's your injury?" Wang Dong stopped joking and asked worriedly. Huo Yuhao replied, "Don't worry, my body is different from a normal person's. With the immense life power of the life gold, this injury is nothing. I'll be able to recover by tonight. Protect me. I'll start cultivating now." Although Shrek Academy had won the match today, Huo Yuhao seemed to feel more inhibited. He felt that the tournament was getting more and more complex. However, there weren't any clues on the surface. The starlight sapphire ring on his right hand shone, and a porcelain jug appeared in his hand. It contained the distillate that he had bought from the bar the other day. Wang Dong retreated to a sofa at the side, watching him. After he opened the jug, a strong alcoholic smell drifted out. The distillate was very strong, and had not been blended yet. An ordinary person would be drunk after 2 sips of it. A dim icy fog spread out from Huo Yuhao's body. He placed the jug to one side and quickly stripped, revealing his muscles. The surface of his skin was already covered with icy fog. The image of the Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion surfaced behind his back. It was a sign that he had unleashed his second martial soul. He grabbed the jug again, and quickly swallowed the distillate as if he were a whale. Every time he stopped to breathe, his skin would shine with a dim red glow. It was a stark contrast to the icy fog around him. He quickly circulated his soul power, and a dim golden glow appeared. His immense spiritual power enabled him to accurately circulate his soul power, and under that precise control, his soul power started to initiate the catalytic effects of the distillate. He circulated his soul power according to the method of the mysterious heaven technique. A streak of azure light flashed past his brow. A small yet shiny and transparent azure green carving blade flew out. It surrounded Huo Yuhao's body and drifted above his head after making a circuit around him. A green aura descended and fused with Huo Yuhao's body. It was the Life Guardian's blade. With the strong life power of the blade and the catalytic effects of the distillate, Huo Huo Yuhao started to fuse with the origin energy of ultimate ice at a much faster rate. Although he wasn't able to move, his soul power was increasing at a faster rate than before. In addition, the speed at which he absorbed the origin energy increased as his soul power grew. His confidence in his cultivation also grew as a result. Wang Donga seemed to be immersed in her thoughts as she looked at Huo Yuhao. She revealed a slight smile on her face. He's really getting stronger and stronger. Ah, Wang Chua, you are really a huge headache. She's also so nice to him. I must watch this fool properly. Night fell, and 4 figures appeared in a dark corner as usual. He Kai-tu lowered his voice and asked, Yuhao, our opponents tonight won't be easy to deal with. Must we win or? Huo Yuhao replied, Second senior, you are Tang Sai and I'm Tang Wu now. You should call me second brother. We can't make any mistakes now. We must win tonight. Use some of your true abilities. The rare metals that we can potentially win tonight can't be bought with money, and the Tang sect needs them. After we reach the round of 3, we can compete against the other 2 underground organizations. It's a pity that we can't bet with rare metals, or it would be even better. Let's make a huge wager tonight, and win more money first. Huo Yuhao had already amassed more than 20 million gold soul coins after winning his previous rounds. The amount of money he had was enough to equip an army of 10,000 soldiers. However, 20 million gold soul coins was nothing in the world of soul engineers. Soul engineering was a profession that burned a lot of money. Creating a successful soul tool was very lucrative, but how many soul engineers had a close to 100% success rate like Huo Yuhao? That was why some strong soul engineers often created soul tools of lower classes to exchange for money to sustain their daily expenses. It was also why soul engineering sects were very cautious when they accepted disciples, and why the illustrious Virtue Hall was so respected. Without the support of an empire, there wasn't any way soul engineers who engaged in elite and advanced research could survive. At the familiar Green Hotel, Chenin was waiting at the entrance since he was no longer a judge. As Huo Yuhao and He Kai-tu advanced further and further in the tournament, his attitude was becoming ever more respectful. Young Tang masters, quick. Let's enter. Chenin immediately went up to receive Huo Yuhao as soon as he saw him, a fawning look on his face. Huo Yuhao passed all his gold soul coins to him and said, Divide it into 2 and stake each half on my brother and me. Second master, we've not started the lot drawing. Chenin roughly knew how many gold soul coins Huo Yuhao had. He was a little hesitant, as it would be quite a huge bet. Even the most distinguished guests in the Golden Hall didn't bet so much. Furthermore, he didn't even know his opponent yet, and the last 6 competitors left were all very strong. Huo Yuhao smiled and replied, No worries. If I didn't even have this little confidence, I wouldn't be here at all. You can use it to bet. I'm confident. Yes. Chenin acknowledged his words respectfully. We don't have to rush to enter. How's the matter I asked you to settle? Huo Yuhao asked. Chenin appeared to be in a spot and said, It's indeed a little difficult to buy rare metals now. Although we have some channels to purchase rare metals, you must know that the 3 underground organizations are organizing their own tournament. Rare metals are being used in great amounts in these tournaments, and a huge batch of them is being used as rewards for the participating soul engineers. The control on rare metals has become very strict, so. Huo Yuhao snorted coldly. That is your problem. Don't bother explaining it to me. I only want to see the results. If you do this well, I'll promote you from class 5 to class 6, and from 5 rings to 6 rings. What? Chenin was stunned after hearing his words. He seemed a little doubtful. Why? Don't you believe me? Huo Yuhao glanced at him coldly. I believe. Chenin hurriedly nodded. Huo Yuhao said, Although I'm a domineering person, I'm never stingy towards those who help me. Give me your hand. I'll let you feel it for a while. Chenin was dazed for a moment, and extended his right hand. Huo Yuhao used 3 fingers to feel his pulse. Suddenly, Chenin felt a wave of pure soul power transferring into his body from Huo Yuhao's fingertip. This wave of soul power wasn't very strong, but it was extremely pure. There didn't even seem to be any elements present, but it contained vibrant life power. Suddenly, Chenin felt the pores on his body opening up. His blood was surging, and he instantly felt much younger. He was even more astonished to realize that his soul power was undulating rapidly after the pure soul power entered his body. He could feel his own soul power being enhanced, it was too obvious. In addition, he didn't sense any evil aura from it. This video will end here.